Ladies and gentlemen, hello again and welcome back to Don't Worry About the Government. My name is Chris Novembrino. Joining me on the show today is a multi-partite panel for a multi-partite show because there are a lot of topics. We've got some domestic, we've got some abroad, and here to discuss all of them with me are William West, our returning champion. Welcome back to the show, William.
Hey, good to be here.
And the challenger, coming in all the way from Ireland this week, Finbar McLaughlin. How you doing?
How's it going? It's good to be here.
Good to be here. Prepared to rip William limb from
That's
limb.
that's it. Yes. Well,
Yes. Let's get into it. Let's get into it, shall we? All right. So it's been a while since we've last done a show here. I just want to apologize to everyone for not getting a show out sooner. And in turn, I would like an apology for receiving absolutely no recognition for the high quality multi-layered Joe Manchin related pun that I came up with on the last episode. Just a quick note there. I've been gigging, working. The show's fine. Probably going to be 2 times a month here for the first part of the year, but my side hustle gig that I'm doing right now is too good to quit, but I also at some point am going to need to because I don't have enough hours off in the week at this point. I'm like, this is Friday and it was supposed to be an off day, and I'm taping Don't Worry About the Government. So am I really off, or am I, like there really, and there hasn't been many off days lately. So anyways, those are the quick top of the show notes here. And I think since we got William on the show here, we should begin on the school related stuff, shall we? William, do you want to take us through what's going on in your neck of the woods? And then I guess I'll take us through what's going on in my neck of the woods because it just so happens that we have local correspondence for the first time and probably the only time on the show this week.
Yeah. So McMinn County. So I'm from Tennessee. So McMinn County is in East Tennessee, and they had some sort of school board vote because someone complained about the book Mouse showing nudity or something, even though they're tiny little characters that don't have any, body parts. And so they banned it on like a 10-0 vote, so a pretty drastic vote. And now the book's like sold out and everything because people are pretty up in arms about it. The school district I work in, I don't have any issues with any sort of, censorship or anything like that. But it is just kind of a crazy idea that if you're a public school teacher in this county, and this might be something you had on your bookshelf, or something you've talked to a kid about because they picked it up in the library. Like, kids are just walking around with books all the time.
Oh, well, no, you can't mention it, right? I mean,
Right.
here's the ripple effect of this, right? Now that it's in the news, and I guess this is actually going to touch a number of the topics, like when we talk about Neil Young, right? Like, it now Mouse, which granted was a political book, but was at one point a widely agreed upon political book. Its message, Holocaust is bad, never again, was generally accepted up until the year 2022 to be like a good, positive, widely acceptable message, and this to be like a solid piece of art to understand that, making a message. Like now it's instantly political, even though it's not in your district. Like, let's say I
Yeah.
wanted to teach. I'm not an English teacher, I'm a music teacher. More on that in a minute. But like, if I wanted to teach this book, if I did that, it's almost as though I'm making a Republican Democrat sort of political statement now, rather than a Holocaust bad statement.
I mean, I felt that way when I did my lesson on MLK because technically my standards are about ancient world history. So
I feel that way when I teach.
Does Martin Luther King technically fall under the standards of ancient world history, or should students in the state of Tennessee, where he was murdered, learn about why he was in Memphis in the first place and why he was there and how he was murdered there and how they can go see it because they live in this state and it's part of their history? Should they learn that for one day out of the year, right? And I didn't have any pushback or anything like that, but you still have in the back of your mind, like, technically, I'm not doing this exact thing today.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I'm always careful too, but it's like, I teach the kids how to play Rumble by Link Ray, and I always make sure to make it a point to, like, explained to them like who Link Ray was and that like he was a Native American, among other things. Like you know, just because there's like I worry as a teacher, I guess, about like if I don't teach it, who's going to? And I'm sure that that's probably a thing that's like crossing your mind now, increasingly as you are seeing a push by another group of people to not teach these sort of things. You know, and like it's the mission creep of critical race theory. Out here in my neck of the woods, on Thursday, Granbury Integrated School District or Independent School District, I'm sorry, because Texas is in ISDs, confirmed that it had pulled 130 titles from schools' libraries in the district to be reviewed by a committee for inappropriate conduct. Like, let me see. We've got there's a photo of what is known as Krause's list that details all of the different books here. Okay, no, there's the people. Oh, here's the actual list. Let me see. We have 7 Days at the Hot Corner, by Truman Terry. A Love Story starring my dead friar. All American Boys. Black Rabbit Summer. I don't know any of these stories. Equal Rights. Like, how offensive could Equal Rights possibly be? Also, you're removing a book called Equal Rights. What are you doing? Are we the bad guys here?
The thing that I love, I mean, not love, obviously, but like the reaction that happens every time, and the reason I think that some things are different with sort of the idea of never again, right? Is like there are, you know, and I know, Chris, we've talked about this, having relatives who are, you know, from the South, right, and who might have very different views than I do. But then you see this outpouring in McMinn County from all the churches now are hosting mouse discussion groups, that, you know, everyone's donating hundreds and hundreds of copies to the public library. And they're like, we already had a bunch of copies and we're not taking them away.
Well, this was a big, that book in particular was a big mistake because, look, when you're talking about, well, it's a Pulitzer Prize winner, but now you're also talking about faith communities and stuff, many of which have ties to Jewish synagogues and that sort of thing. It's like sister, you know, that sort of thing, and like are pro-Israel, and so like they're kind of like, this is a weird pull, guys. Yeah,
I was talking about that last night. I had dinner with the librarian I work with and her husband, who's a professor of theology at Belmont University. And we were discussing how, isn't this kind of a pro-Zionist book? Like, wouldn't this actually be like a pretty conservative book? Right?
No, right. So like out here in Granbury, it's notable. It's not in the Granbury list here. And to your point, like queer there and everywhere. 23 people who changed the world. Okay, that's much better for what their general shtick is. We've got Roe versus Wade, woman's choice. Roe versus Wade, abortion. Here's another good one that they managed to ban. Separate is never equal. Sylvia Mendez and her family's fight for desegregation. Like, no, I'm with you though. The reason Mouse, but here's what I worry about based on that same thing, William. Mouse will probably get the carve out. We'll teach Mouse as a way of saying, oh, we stopped with the book banning. And then quietly all these other books about genderqueer theory and that sort of thing are going to be removed from the schools.
Yeah. And you know the Toni Morrison book? Was it the Toni Morrison book in Georgia? What was the book that was being removed from schools in Georgia?
Was it To Kill a Mockingbird?
No, it was either. No, I think it was a Toni Morrison book.
There's a school district that I think was going to stop teaching To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah. And I know there was actually some stuff in Ireland about that as well.
Here's a good one though. They called themselves the KKK, the birth of an American terrorist group. You needed to remove that book, the book that clearly has a KKK bad stance.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. Like,
and who's the bad guy here? I can't quite tell.
And I also just don't understand, like, you know, I work with children every day and they are capable. I work with, you know, they're 11 and 12 and they're very capable of discussing very high level ideas about historical issues. And the idea that a student would feel guilty is just kind of odd. It's like, no, they just want to learn and like analyze. Like it's not that like, oh, I'm teaching you to feel bad that this happened. It's like, no, you're just like, you feel bad that it happened because it's like, yeah, that sucks that happened.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily even feel like it's. It's. I mean, I feel bad about the things that I do to, like. But yeah, I don't read about, let's say, Christopher Columbus and go, oh, geez, being Italian.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you stay at
I
home.
mean,
Yeah.
granted,
Right.
I'm not gonna go and join, do Columbus Day or join the Knights of Columbus or any of that sort of
Exactly.
thing. Yeah, but like, no, I don't sit there and go like, really sorry about Chris Columbus. Yikes. No, that's nuts. I think that's not, and that's also not how people read history, right? Like, I
Right.
don't think people read that in search of. I think what this really belies, though, is that like this has gone way beyond, and you always knew it was going to. Any concerns about critical race theory? We're now like, once you're banning books that are Holocaust bad, KKK bad. Like that, they called themselves the
Yeah.
KKK, an American terrorist group. Are we really arguing that the KKK has not operated as a terrorist group during its history? Really?
Right.
Seriously?
Well, I wonder with the KKK book, if that goes back to some of the anti-KKK laws being used to sue a bunch of the right-wing people involved in Charleston, or
Charlottesville?
in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were using the anti-KKK laws in order to sue them and put them out of business, So, maybe these people are deciding thinking it's time to revisit the KKK as a maligned organization or
Right.
something,
Right.
Misunderstood, I think the word is.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They're just trying to have a few marches. Come
They're a bunch
on.
of Illinois Nazis.
They want to make a couple movies, have a few parades. If that's so wrong, lock them up, I say. No, I mean, I guess what I worry about with this book trend is right now, I'm not really seeing a meaningful pushback from, I mean, look, if you're a teacher right now, you don't feel like government's had your back. You're exhausted with fighting with parents over the last 2 years anyways. You have battle fatigue. Many of them are being run off. The jobs aren't paying well enough. So I don't know who's going to hold the line on these book removals. And this trend of the parents know best about the education. I'm sorry. No, like that's why you go to teachers. Like how to like raise your children. I'm not, like me as a teacher would never want to step in to do that, but like you don't know how to teach your kid guitar as well as I do. William knows how to teach your kid history better than you do. Like because that's what William is trained to do. That's what training accomplishes, and if you didn't believe that, you wouldn't have your kids in school in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's the thing that worries me. Like, how do we stop that trend? How do we stop the continued push by the parents to want to control the curriculum? I don't actually see a clear answer on that one.
Well, and I think a lot of it is just this minority that some of them don't even have kids in the district. You know what I mean? So it's like the parents, I really don't. I mean, I had one parent who's, I think, was just sort of misunderstood one of our lessons earlier in the year. You know what I mean? But I haven't gotten any like serious pushback. Now I do live in a pretty liberal city, but I teach what I'm told to teach other than like on MLK Day, right?
Right.
Specific holiday, but I haven't had any parent like, you know what I mean? Like fight us with in terms of like the curriculum and stuff. So I think that when we see that in the news a lot, it's just like, it's people who often don't even have kids.
No. But this is also part of another just kind of scary trend right now, like up in Virginia, where you have people fighting over the mandates, right? Like that's the new anti-vax code word, right? I'm not against the vaccines. You could do whatever you want. I'm just against mandates.
Right.
And in one school district, I don't want to name the school district, but like I might have students across the country. They were out for snow this last week. And the snow up there was not that bad. So my student and my student's mother both suspect that like the strategy here was just that this school district at this point, it has battle fatigue.
Yeah.
They have been fighting with these parents for so long that it was easier to have a fight over, oh, the snow's not that bad. I want my kid in school. And they're like, oh, no, the snow's pretty bad. It's going to be real rough this week here. Oh, gotta have the snow. Which is easier than having the culture war fight over COVID at this point. So it's depressing. I mean, and I actually was approached by a mentor when a younger mentor or mentor who of me when I was younger. Words is hard, people. Words is hard. And this last week, and he was talking to me about teaching in a public school setting. And while I'm interested in doing something like that, I told him I'm not actually really interested in doing that right now. Like, I like my setup. I like being a private instructor, and basically until some more common sense comes into how we're going to run the school districts here. I mean, I just couldn't imagine being in a more formalized setting. You know, like
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a certain structure you're expected to hit and uphold.
I actually think that's a decent pivot point into another topic here, which is the Antiwork subreddit, right? Like you know, we're talking about crappy standards for teachers, and I think you can extend this conversation very cleanly into the idea of crappy standards for workers across the board here, especially people who have been called essential workers for the last 2 years and have been treated, especially in America, as anything but. You can't even get your employer in most cases to hold the line on the, hey, idiot, we put a sign at the front of the store that says you need to have a mask on, put the damn mask on. It's now just there for legal purposes so that they can say they put up the sign, but they're not actually going to fight with people. They don't want to fight with customers and potentially lose business. So like at the end of the day, the workers have been told, these essential workers, they've been told they're essential, but also like you're second to business. Like, you know, like we're not going to ask you to, we're not going to keep you maximally safe. We'll keep you as safe as the bottom line allows for. These crappy standards, I think, have led to people sort of on the search, and posting through it to a certain extent, as to what do we do? There is some more earnest unionization efforts right now, and I don't think that's an accident. You are seeing more union campaigns and successful union campaigns at that. I find myself a little bit jealous as the leader of an unsuccessful union campaign, not that long ago, like 4 or 5 years ago now. But like, I look on and I go, get them, brothers. But like, I think a lot of people at this point, if you're still stuck in one of these crappy jobs, has been getting online and finding ways to vent about it. And that has led to the rise of a subreddit, a very popular subreddit called Antiwork. And then Antiwork, I guess, is now like sort of fizzled, and now you have work reform as the new one. Antiwork has gone through a couple of different morphs, right? Like, to shorthand this, Antiwork started off as people hate their jobs, want to complain about their jobs, want to talk about not working so much. Then a more politicized element, a more like sort of leftist ideological element started arriving into Antiwork, and that sort of started coloring Antiwork. And then I went over to work reform here, and like, I mean, it's not really a reform campaign. Like, right, like, while work reform, I think, is the right energy or whatever, it's basically more like shit posts about hating work over there, at this point. So like, that's the Anti-Work like subreddit. It's not even really a movement, but I think, you know, like, look, work frustration is certainly a movement. All of this leads up to not the moderator, a lead moderator, I guess, of the Anti-Work subreddit, going on to Waters' world on Fox News. Jesse Waters is a doofus who was like Bill O'Reilly's apprentice back in the day. I don't know if you all remember that. Like, Bill O'Reilly used to have Waters on.
Someone said that he was like, he looks like the like bad guy quarterback in like an 80s, you know, high school movie. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
Like, you like the mean, you know, that's-
7 or 8 years ago, maybe.
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah. He looks like an asshole Joe Montana or something. Yeah, like that. Yeah, but yes,
Oh, like Jeff Garcia.
yeah. There you go. I think that's right. I don't. What do I know? I'm amazed I got Joe Montana. It's just a good football name.
Jeff
So
Garcia went on a sexist rant about a female football analyst.
and then there's that there's Ben Roethlisberger,
That's it.
who's not a very good fellow.
There you go. You're nailing them all.
Yeah. Aaron
I see,
Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is also bad. Ha! Can't wait for the Super Bowl next week. So, anyways, back to Waters' world. Jesse Waters' books on Doreen, who is the moderator of Antiwork, and Doreen goes on Waters' world and generously gets, I believe her pronouns are she, her, or possibly they, them, but like I'm gonna go she, her here. Gets her lunch eaten on Waters' world. Jesse Waters just slices up Doreen 6 ways to Sunday. Other people have done sort of question by question breakdowns, but like it was so thorough. The only answer that Doreen sort of answered halfway decent's the first question. So if you want to like watch that, but everything after that, I mean, just an absolute railroading of this subreddit. And this one person did like just a huge amount of damage to the Antiwork subreddit in but a single swoop. And then other stuff has come out since then that Doreen's got sex pest type issues. Or I mean, like it just, this is very unfortunate. This is a huge L for this movement, which I'm pretty sympathetic to, in the sense of like, look, I think people need to work, but I also, to give my quick like 2-minute philosophy of work. Look, work sucks, but we have to like keep the lights on and that sort of thing. And not all of us are going to have cool jobs, but we need to make sure that the people who don't have cool jobs have jobs that are cool because they pay well, and that those jobs have certain creature comforts and a way of integrating work and life that's healthy, so that the grocery store worker works 30 hours a week, gets paid well enough that they can actually do stuff and have 3 or 4 weeks of vacation every year. Like that's my general theory. So like there's still got to be work. And some of that work, by definition, I mean, if you think about it, is not going to be, it doesn't have to be awful, but it's not going to be awesome. Like a box will still have to be moved. You might find Joey McBoxerton, who loves boxes and like grew up.
Hey, I stacked boxes at FedEx at 2 a.m. for a while. I've done that.
And like named every box that he's ever assembled, and like each box has its own unique identity, and Joey needs to understand each one. But there's not enough Joeys in the world to move all the boxes and derive maximal pleasure from shit. So we just gotta make sure that people are paid well. We gotta make sure that people have good labor protections. We gotta make sure that people have ample time off. People should be working less than 40 hours a week. We should be shooting for 35 like our European friends and neighbors. I think this hustle culture that all of us, myself, have embraced in order to make ends meet, because I hustle a shitload, and yes, I own my own shit. That's great. I'm working a shitload, and like I don't make but $40K a year. It's not like it's my own life, but like it's still too much. Like we all are working too much. It's so obvious. But this Doreen person is dope. Goes on as like, I think we should be working 20 hours a week, and then later corrects herself in the cleanup and says that we should be working 10 hours a week, about 2 hours a day. Like, I mean, it's so easy to rip that to shreds.
I watched it I watched the Hassan react, and basically he just made a good point right at the start. It's like this person, Fox picked this person because they had no media savvy and like no preparation, and so it's just like you can make fun of Fox all day, but they know how to make television. Like there's no you know what I mean? Like you can criticize them, make fun of them, but they know exactly what they're doing, and they're very good at it.
But this isn't a new game. That's the thing that I think what I find myself frustrated with them, the Antiwork group too, is don't send Doreen. if you know, she goes, oh, I have autism, and if she's got the sex pest shit, between her having autism, apparently not being any good at being on camera, and talking into a camera and knowing how to engage Jesse Waters, like she was either like reading or like, I mean, her house was a mess, didn't understand the optics, or if you're gonna send Doreen, coach up Doreen. Hey, Doreen, you might want to do your hair. Hey, Doreen, you're gonna want to like have your house not look like shit. Make your house look like something. You know, or put up a background, Doreen. They didn't prep her. She didn't prep. She did her entire group a disservice. The group didn't really do her any favors. And you're absolutely right. Fox knows exactly what they're doing here. Was it a fair fight? No, but it's a Fox fight. And it's the same Fox fight that they've been selling to any dope liberal or leftist who's been willing to come on for nearly 25 years now. So I'm like, where's my sympathy level? Where does it really sit at? This is very frustrating though. I mean, because I think we need better. I think we need better anti-work movement. Like we actually do need.
Yeah, but but I mean, like to think that like one Reddit page is like a movement. It's like
no.
It's, you know what I mean. It's like this is just like you said. It's just people blowing off steam. Then a lot of people just making up stuff because you know. But
you know, maybe the problem here was that people tried to politicize what was something that was actually really not political and was really just a place for shit posting. Like the big problem here was I get the logic that the left is coming in here, but maybe the problem was leftists looking at this and going, this could be an action space. And if you like look at work reform right now, just like I'll put it up here to end this first segment of the show. If you like look at work reform right now, it's got some work. It could use some reform. Like being an independent contractor sucks for a lot of reasons, but it also affords you the opportunity to tell people off in delightful ways. Don't get me wrong. Funny, like that. This is probably on brand. Millennial women are worried, ashamed. Like that's fine. Short staffing is just another form of wage that like some of this stuff is like close to.
You're showing your notes.
Oh, I'm showing my notes. Oh, well, we don't need
lots of music. There was lots of song riffs.
Oh, so, you know what? We need more music in this world, William. Like that.
Did you see Jordan Peterson? The clip of Jordan Peterson breaking down a guy. Oh, you guys actually would love it because it's about Nashville. So you came to Nashville a little while ago.
There's like that Jordan Peterson. Look.
Well, but he's like, and you're a musician, like, so you got to watch this because he's at just like a honky tonk. He's at just like a bar, and the guy's just playing. You know, a guy who's played there for 20 years. You know, and he just plays at the bar all the time, and he's doing a good job. And Peterson, as he's describing it to Rogan, is just in tears, just at the beauty of, I can't even do a Jordan Peterson voice, but like, you know, and like, yeah, the guy's a good musician, but like, really? I guess
here's the thing with Jordan Peterson people. One, you are going to absolutely get me in trouble with them again because they come out of the fucking woodwork. Boy, do they come out of the fucking woodwork. You don't think you got something in your group and they're there. I'm ready for y'all this time. But two, like, I don't know why anyone is taking that guy seriously at this point. I really don't. Like his what he got himself addicted to, getting he's not a medical advice guy, and even his life advice is probably the best thing he has to offer. We'll be back for part 2 here in just a moment. You'll just be clicking. I'll be sending them a link. See you then.
We just cut